What? There we go. Jesus, what are we even doing out here? Yeah, apparently this is the year to delete Linux from your desktop once and for all. The best part about this is I don't have to open up a YouTube stream anymore to figure out what my fucking URL is going to be. I can just post the live link. Shout outs to 100 subscribers. Happy New Year, everybody. This is day number 28 of our continuous editing stream with yours truly, Zach ZYZ, the novel that we're editing. You can see at the top of the screen, it's GRAVID. We just had Big Angie pull into the LRH chat for the first time in lo these many months. So shout outs to Angie. Apparently she and her dogs had a good new year. Oh my god. Okay, so we got to reread this chapter right here. I didn't think. Yeah, we're not going to go too far. We'll probably just try to shoot for getting this chapter and the Starball chapter. I'm hungover. I'm sure that everybody out there is the same. Shouts to everybody joining us in the chat. In any case, there. But yeah, I can't stop grinding just because it's a new year or whatever. There, some tasks just require you to be continuously assiduous in the performance of your duties. Ridiculous. So yeah, all I really have to do is read this chapter, and then we'll take a gander at the Starball chapter. If you've never seen this before in your life, this is the story of a young woman whose father is killed. He's a police officer, and he's slain, gets stabbed in the neck. She becomes very depressed as a result. And following that, you hear me scratching my head in the microphone. So after this whole event, she becomes very depressed and tries to kill herself. She fails in this, but as she is attempting suicide, she discovers a strange meteorite that we have now found at this story, or at this point in the story, is of alien manufacture. So we're going to see what's happening there. Yeah, we're really getting into, I think we've had about 250 or some odd pages about how her life is depressing. And now we're getting into the upswing part of this whole deal. So I'm looking forward to it right there. People are saying free BSD 2020. Do they even still have BSD? Like, honest question. I have not heard anybody mention BSD on the internet other than to be like, well, actually OS X is part of BSD. And like, that's it. I think they're done, boys. But I could be wrong. All right, let me just see. All right. I don't see any weirdness happening on that screen or whatever. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit subdued, but we're going to power up our engines here and work through this guy here. So shout outs to our viewers or viewer. I'm not sure which of the two it is at the moment, but we will make it through this somehow. Oh shit, I forgot to topic this. And hold on, I think I can do it with just a mouse. So I went out to a New Year's Eve party last night. It was all right. It was like a kind of small thing with a bunch of friends. But like before that, we went out for like fucking burritos, which is yeah, it's probably like the one cheap meal I'll have this month or whatever there. But gigantic burritos and fucking there were French fries served with the burrito, and they had a killer queso, which I was super stoked about this fucking queso, man. Like little bits of pepper all up in there. That's how I like my queso to be. Hopefully some of y'all got into a similar thing. But yeah, I don't anticipate it to be too lively here today on New Year's Day. So we can just concentrate on the task at hand. Listen to this character. Like slow, gravelly voice. And yeah, everybody's fucked up in the game right now. I drank like more champagne than I would have liked to, but not too bad. Got home at like I think I got home by like 2 in the morning, and then slept until about 7 o'clock, and just woke up at like 7:30 or whatever like that, and just staring up at the ceiling and like dicking around on my phone. And I'm glad that this is not one of those times, and I'm not one of those people at the moment right now. Real talk. So let's get through chapter 38. And so in this scene, Freya and Dan Gregulus are sitting in a park discussing their experiences with grief. So chapter 38. I still expect her. Isn't that weird? I was sitting in the park the other day after a run. People were walking past, and I caught myself searching their faces with this tiny hope that one would be her. I know she's gone. I know I'll never see her again. But that little hope just never goes away. They'd driven around for an hour talking and wound up here. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Freya and Dan had driven around for an hour talking before they wound up sitting on the same bench in Bridge Park. Freya and Dan had driven around for an hour talking before they wound up sitting on the bench in Bridge Park. The same one where Malcolm had ambushed her, the day she decided to keep the Starball a secret forever. The tupelo tree that had been half bald was bare now. The Black River was flowing quietly as they talked. The whole thing hadn't been what she'd expected. Somehow, an arrangement had quietly been made that Brad would be the one who gave Jeanette and Riley home. Hmm. Yeah, that's not a good place to have that whole thing. The whole thing hadn't been what she'd expected. Yeah, let's just take that up. Dan's car was immaculate inside. There were no fast food wrappers in the footwell, no debris in the cup holders. It was just an old white Toyota, but Dan clearly took care of it. It was just an old white Toyota sedan, but Dan clearly took care of it. She'd never been in a student's car before where she hadn't had to take a bunch of junk out of the passenger seat just to sit down. The interior smelled like Armor All. Randall used the same thing on his truck. He hadn't turned on the radio either. Dan hadn't turned on the radio either. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked the stereo. But Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garboglio, when she started, if she was taking anything, all kinds of questions. Not in a nosy way, more that he hadn't talked to anyone else who hadn't seen him. Not in a nosy way. It was more that he hadn't talked to anyone else who'd been through therapy and wanted to compare experiences. When she'd answered him, he spent Oh, shout outs to the new arrivals right there. Yeah, it's a very subdued editing session this morning. I'm just trying to work out this chapter from yesterday. We're mainly doing some subtractions and so forth. This is the first chapter where I think Dan Gregulus and Freya really get a chance to look at each other eye to eye and see what's up. So, yeah, we'll see how this all goes down. But shout outs to people joining in on the chat. Y'all some real ones. But yeah, every single chat that I'm in, most people haven't woken up by now. I think a lot of people were out partying last night. Time went on. I hope all y'all had a really good time in the new year. That you got to eat a bunch of food that you're now regretting and drink a bunch of drinks that you may also be regretting. It's going to be a good one. I already can fucking feel it in my stank bone that this is going to be the year. And, you know, keep in mind, not just like, everything's going to go great and lollipops are going to rain down from the sky. It's going to rain tacos. We were thinking last night about what it would be like if it actually fucking rained tacos. Just the streets fucking knee deep in rotting ground beef and flies and great vast droves just everywhere. Bits of like coagulating cheese all over the, God. That's one of those like amazing things. Like we were really hungry last night, and just like starving when we got to the restaurant, And I was like, what if it just fucking rained tacos? And then following that to the logical conclusion, where the streets run red with salsa blood, and just these horrible survivors are in this like rotting mass. God, it's funny how something can sound so amazing, but obviously it's Satan's work, and that's what it's like in hell. It rains tacos every fucking day. Oh, so it was a mass kill of Port 80 last night that went down. Uh, and everybody's a little annoyed about it because they had been connected to the server since like June, so they got zapped by fucking Steve-O. God, ridiculous. But, but those are the breaks of the IRC chat life. Sometimes you're gonna get caught up in a mass kill. All right, but I promise I'm not gonna put Taco Rain. God, that could almost be like a horrific short story. Just like the survivors clutching the wasteland, because tacos would hurt too if they were coming down at a and then they would like track down the young boy who was responsible like for the genie wish that it would just rain tacos every day, and fucking crucify him on a cross made of taco shells. Yeah. Like stab him in the side with a hardened nacho chip. It's like the most gangsta Christmas tale of all time. Yeah, you can tell I'm not playing with the full deck this morning, but we still gotta. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yesterday, we were at like, I think we came into it with like 92 or something like that, and just people like hopped in and started creating clone accounts and everything. So now we got 100 subscribers, and we got that custom URL. Hell yeah! Happy New Year, Stratum. By the way, I hope you had a good time last night, or at least stayed at home and didn't bother around with the amateur hour out there. It was crazy shit going down on the streets of Brooklyn, but I was like too drunk to wade into it. Like people were getting in fights. There were tons of police. I think they broke up a giant party on Fulton Street that was like taking place somewhere where you shouldn't have had a giant party on Fulton Street. And everybody was in the streets like, oh, he's fucking 5 years old. Like, no, I'm not good, bitch. You know, like just that kind of sounding off and everything. And everybody was out making merry at like 2 in the morning. It was dope. I was glad to be in Brooklyn, but at the same time, I was like riding by in like a dress shirt and a vest on a fucking bicycle, and I was like, one, didn't have a jacket that was warm enough for being out there, and then two, I was like a little too loopy to be on a bicycle, and whoa, it was wild, but a good time had by all, especially them police. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, shout outs to Fancy Scientician right there. Uh, so Stratum finished off the first book of The Expanse and worked to catch up on all the days he just took off. Yeah, so like in The Expanse, I'm just at the part where they're like quelling the riot at the very beginning of whatever. It's just like I don't know. It's not really hooking me thus far. The one cool thing that I like found about The Expanse thus far is I thought like the description of how they have like a big heat sink or whatever in the ship to like cloak it. I thought that was kind of cool. It's like anti-reflective, and they've got like a big heat sink so that their thermal signature doesn't show up. That's neat. I can get with that. Um, but yeah, so far the like factionality between inner planets and like the people on the belt and so forth, it's not really doing it for me. And I'm just not. I'm not feeling their hate the way that I would like to. You know, if you're gonna have a story about these cultural differences and so forth, it just doesn't feel like they have enough teeth. But I don't know. I'm like very peculiar about my stories of ethnic hate. I do like the idea of human beings developing in these like lateral paths as a result to environmental stress, and you got like these big spindly armed alien looking Trevor people and like the dense bricky Martians and everything. That's cool. So I'm gonna power through the book and get through it, but it's kind of slow going for me at the moment there. Uh, the TV show brings up the hate a lot, more amped it up like 5x more. Yeah, it's because I don't know. We like tribal warfare, a lot of us, and I think potentially the author, like maybe his database is not filled with hate in the same way that people want. But yeah, definitely, it all felt like kind of low key in the initial parts of the story. Also, you know, like I don't know how much the author had written before this, whether it was just like finding his footing or whatever. But it's been very slow to develop. I say that as somebody writing like this 800 page like tremendously slow to develop story. So yeah, that shouldn't be meant as criticism because I'm not deep enough into the book to offer any kind of critique. So Jira asks, will 2020 be the year of Linux on the desktop? I think it's the year that worldwide all of us will just come to our senses and we'll delete Linux once and for all. We'll get rid of AWS and fucking every server out there running Apache, and we'll just all go back to good old Microsoft IIS. That's it. That's it. Every single website in the world will go back to that. Linux will be outlawed on a UN level and so forth. And any state that's unwilling to relinquish their Linux will be declared disbanded, and their territory will be up for grabs for people who aren't part of the open source movement. Hell yeah, that's my prediction. You know, I've been wrong before. You're wrong again. Actually, hold up. Let me get. The screen is just covered in fucking dust. That's weird. There we go. It's like I'm trying to look through a window at Christmas Eve at Mr. Scrooge's giant fucking turkey that he and Bob Cratchit are busy sodomizing. That's not true. You can't sodomize a turkey. They have cloacas. But just putting it out there. Not in a nosy way. The drive was a little awkward at first, with long patches of silence. Dan didn't turn on the radio. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked up the stereo. But Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garbuglio, why she'd started, if she was taking anything. All kinds of questions. Not in a nosy way. It was more that he hadn't talked to anyone else who'd been through therapy and wanted to compare experiences. He spent a while thinking about each of her responses, his brow furrowed as he scanned out at the glistening wedge of road. His brow furrowed as he scanned the glistening wedge of road illuminated by his headlights. Yeah, something about that. Wait, hold on. What did Streamlabs said? Please refrain from posting links without permit. A canyon.mid on every hard disk. Why is Streamlabs fucking clamping down on Jira in the Twitch chat? I think you can get away with it in fucking the other one. Oh, dares some me. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, just getting texted by oh shoot, people are linking Yakub over in the real MK Ultra Discord. Shout outs to Yakub. I love all that like crazy 5% Nation of Islam. Like they have like such a neat mythology. I'm a big fan of the whole deal. All right, so getting texted here. Yeah, there was like an issue with a phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Apparently, it's a whole production if you leave a cell phone in an Uber. Oh, that's rough. Okay, but Yeah, so like, yeah, we just kind of breezed through this chapter yesterday, and I'm seeing a lot wrong with it this morning. But it may just be that I'm grumpier or whatever there. So yeah, I was gonna say that the drive was awkward with the drive was awkward at first with long patches of silence. Dan didn't turn on the radio. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked up the stereo. But Jan just wanted to talk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The drive was awkward at first, with long patches of silence. Dan didn't turn on the radio. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked up the stereo. But Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garbuglio, why she'd started, if she was taking anything, all kinds of questions. Not in a nosy way. It was more that he hadn't talked to anyone else who'd been through therapy and wanted to compare experiences. He spent a while thinking about each of her responses, his brow furrowed as he scanned the glistening wedge of the road illuminated by his headlights. Like Lassa, Dan never took his eyes off of the road as he drove. It was strange seeing him concentrating on a task. He didn't smile, and he almost seemed like someone else. Mm-hmm. Finally, it started. Mm-hmm. Finally, it started to weird Freya out, and she'd asked if they could stop somewhere. She hadn't meant the river, but nothing else in town was open. Now he was pouring his heart out to her on the bench. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look. Radio and stereo feels so. All right, let's take a look at that right there. Because I feel like a bunch of the start of this chapter is kind of awkward. One of the things that I find in writing is where when you have something that you really want to say, um, like you like have this intent in you, like I want to get this point across. I want to create this feeling or whatever. The wording will often be awkward, um, just because like you have this thought like in you, like clawing to get out, and you're not like in the flow state of creativity, so things don't come out exactly right. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Sorry to take all these texts and everything during this. It's just like, the phone has been lost, and so recovering. Uh, Stratum says in Pound LRH, you can't sodomize a turkey. They have cloacas. Get this insight and more on the Zach ZYZ live stream. And then Nancy Drew says, fucking a cloaca is the ultimate multitasking. Wow. Only here, folks. You're not going to see this on any other Twitch stream in the early hours of the morning here. Shouts to everybody hopping in on this. Um, Dan didn't turn on the radio. So here, instead of let's try it. The drive was awkward at first, with long patches of silence. Dan didn't turn on the radio. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked up the stereo. But Dan just wanted to talk. Oh yeah, there is a little of that stereo, radio. But I don't want, they always blasted her with music is like the other thing. Let's just let, oh, so we have Jester and Papat Yassi. Oh wait, Papat Yassi. Oh, salam alaikum. And walaikum assalam. Kaifa hal? But yeah, shout outs to, I don't know where Papat Yassi is. All right, hold on. If I Google this, am I going to get banned from Twitch? Never heard of this. Marvin Papadayasi Ouler Consummate. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to guess that that's some kind of Turkish. Yeah, I'm guessing Turkish. Let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Are you from Turkey? No, wait. I'm seeing ha ha ha. But I don't know if Turkey sandwich is right, or if some whole other thing happening there. That could easily be Uzbekistani or whatever. There's a lot of umlauts happening in that language, and the little weird Czech C thing under there. I have no idea where you're at, but I bet whatever country you're in, Alexander the Great once conquered it. That's my guess. That's usually a pretty fucking safe one. Yeah, we're gonna skip. So Stratum, I'm with you on the weird sounding of that, but I'm just gonna leave it as it is for right now. I don't feel strongly enough to change it at the moment. So and yeah, this I think I don't know if I've said it already, but this line right here reminds me of all of Stratum's gray and yellow streetlight ASCIIs that were. He's in Switzerland? No. U.S. Switzerlandino. That's Swiss? All right. I mean, that makes sense. Like all the umlauts and other stuff going on there. But yeah. Happy New Year and Merry Ramadan. And yeah, like may all your Eid missed dreams come true. Real talk. But he spent a while thinking about each of her responses. Oh, let's take out it started to weird her out. Okay, U.S. Irish. Are you saying, am I Irish or Switzerlandio? I'm Dutch. And you know what they say? If it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. And they, actually nobody says that, but the Dutch. And then everybody else is like, if it's Dutch, it ain't much, you know? So shout out to that whole thing. There's got to be some Irish in the mix, though. Like German and yeah, I don't know what you got going on there, buddy. But Happy New Year, just the same. Finally, she'd asked if they could stop somewhere. She hadn't meant the river, but nothing in town was open. Now he was pouring his heart out to her on the bench. Yeah, right back at you, amigo. Like, yeah, if you want to try and talk in your native language, there's a chance that I'll know a little bit of it. Yeah, I've got bits and pieces of about. I'm not like that one dude. You know that dude in like Detroit or Michigan or whatever, where he just knows 50 different languages and he wanders around just talking to people and surprising them because he can speak like Cantonese and Mandarin and all this other whatnot. That dude, is fucking incredible right there. But I forget his name. He did a bunch of YouTube streams and just monetized the amazement of people that he could speak their language. Very wholesome. But so Gesture in Papatiasi says, do you know Watford? I have never heard of Watford before in my life. So yeah, the experience of talking with you is like a very disconcerting one, because we're like obviously like operating on very different sets of assumptions and everything here, and there's kind of like a chilling and sinister sense to our conversation. So Watford is an English team. Yeah, so I'm in America, and we don't give a shit about soccer. Yeah, we just do not care in any way, shape, or form about kicking a ball around. But I've also lived in the UK, so I'm not immune to knowing that. What do we got going on here? So Spathiwa is out here. He made it through New Year's somehow. I heard that you were drunk as shit in a beach in Goa or something like that all night last night. So shout outs to Spathiwa, who experienced New Year's before almost any of us. And I'm glad that you lived through it to tell the tale there. Mm-hmm. Finally, she'd asked if they could stop somewhere. She hadn't meant the river, but nothing in town was open. Now Dan was pouring his heart out to her on a riverside bench. Okay, so this is cool. I like that we've added like a little bit of her initially, not like, oh my God, this guy is the greatest. She's like this is a little weird and awkward and everything. So Gesture in rum and coke is apparently his new thing. So Gesture in Papayasi is now, he has 32 Twitch streams. I hope they're all running simultaneously, and it's all just a dude playing Pokemon in a bathtub, just wearing like a thong or something. I love that thought. That's a bit many. Are you gonna watch the What Wall game? That's wild. Was she older or younger than you? Freya asked. Oh, okay. There's some kind of communication between people in India going on right here. Shout out to both of y'all. But I'm glad I have Spathy here to translate. Is it even soccer or is it cricket? What are y'all talking about? I love I'm no. All right, let me get back to it. Number 2 from the bottom. She was my twin, identical. Different sex monozygotic twins are really rare, and the female usually has a disease called Turner syndrome. She was my twin, identical. Different oh, so this is actually true. I had to do a little research on this right here. Normally, when you see identical twins, they are not different sexes. And if they are, then generally it's because something went significantly wrong in the development of the female twin. So generally they have Turner syndrome, which is a defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. And generally people with Turner syndrome don't live to see their 21st birthday. So Spethiwa is saying, oh shit, you already killed Angie. Yeah, you can't just like be absent from chat for fucking months and then come back in and op her up and start killing people. Like, that's not how this fucking works out there. Like, I almost don't want anybody like booting people out of the chat for oh, killed Angie in the novel. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, this was so his sister actually got named because of a song that pops up later here, quite unrelated to Angie. But at the time when we were writing this thing, which would have been, we probably wrote this in mid 2018. At the time, I reached out to Angie and be like, "Yo, Angie, you're in the novel." I like the chat going on there. Um, was she older or younger than you? She was my twin, identical. Uh, she was my identical twin. How does that track? She was my twin, identical. Uh, okay, yeah, so it definitely sounds more human for him to say she was my identical twin. She was my identical twin. Different sex monozygotic twins are really rare, and the female usually has Turner syndrome. That's a defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. She died from a heart defect associated with it. Her name was Angie. Yeah, so pronounce monozygotic.
I found this on the web.
Yeah, let's give this a little try.
Monozygotic.
Monozygotic.
All right, I had it right. Yeah, that was one where just I was a little worried it would be monozygotic or something like that, and I would sound like an idiot. Would he exposition so much here? Maybe, yeah. So I don't want her to be like, "Oh, that's weird," you know, like, is it like that? Yeah, I think that's a fair. Ooh, yeah, it's like a question of whether he would exposition so much. Oh yeah, especially because we're just dumping the reader into there. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's so much really good suggestion. Uh, right there. Yeah, yeah. I really like this edit from Spathy right there, where that is a big fucking block of text right there. So this is the kind of thing that somebody would have had to say like 500 fucking times in their life, and so the whole block would just come tumbling out. Like the you know when you're talking with somebody and you just get a paragraph from them because they've had to say it like so many times, and all the edges are worn off of it, and it's kind of like smooth a little bit. Um, okay, so let's try reading through. when we implement that change, which IMO, this is like one of the strongest editing changes that we've proposed so far. So definitely points to both Spathy and Stratum right there, because it really was like the reader has not eased into this scene yet. We're setting this whole thing up, but dialogue. So we have like this this block of exposition from Dan. There and honestly, there's not like a good bridge from this block here to here. We kind of dump the reader out of there, and then we talk about how it's like weird and blah blah blah. Then we get back into here. We could maybe anchor that to the initial thing where he's talking about how he still hopes to see her. Mm-hmm. Now the roles had shifted, and Dan was pouring his heart out to her on a riverside bench. Was she older or younger than you? Freya asked. She was my identical twin. Oh, wow. Do you want to talk about what happened? Yeah, it's okay. Different sex monozygotic twins are really rare, and the female usually has Turner syndrome. What is that? It's a defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. It's a genetic defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. She died from a heart defect associated with it. Her name was Angie. How long has it been? Freya asked. So there, normally somebody would be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," or whatever. There. But I think we addressed why she wouldn't do that. How long has it been? Freya asked. 5 years in December. Oh God, she breathed. It doesn't hurt anymore. Or maybe that's not quite right. It aches, but it's not immediate, not crippling like it used to be. There's always the feeling she's gone. Like I'm missing one of my fingers. That's what I'm afraid of, that it will never get any better, Freya fumbled. That's what I'm afraid of, that it'll never get any better. It does. I used to feel like I was missing an arm. Right after she died, I couldn't even recognize myself. For a long time, it was like I was watching someone else do everything. I felt like I was haunting myself. Freya nodded, her bottom lip tight. She didn't tell him she was sorry or offer him platitudes. She knew the distance could not be bridged. All this is just between us, right? Dan asked, with a careful look. Yes, absolutely, Freya said. About 3 months after she died, I started swimming in the Gulf. Just swimming out, just swimming as far out as I could until I was totally exhausted. Just swimming until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape how I felt. Oh yeah, we don't. About 3 months after she died, I started swimming in the Gulf. Just swimming until I was totally exhausted. About 3 months after she died, I started swimming in the Gulf every day. I would push myself until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape. I kept swimming out further every day. I remember I would get as far out as I dared and think, maybe this time I won't make it back. Then I'd feel at peace, caught in that maybe. It was almost like a game. I didn't quite realize I was trying to kill myself. I didn't quite realize at the time that I was trying to kill myself. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught up in this big storm that came out of nowhere. I was way too far out, and suddenly I couldn't see the shore anymore. The waves got crazy, and I was 100% sure I was going to die. And I knew right away that I wanted to live. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me see. So we're taking out a lot of the little responses that she has to this there, and I don't know if that's a great idea or not there, but they don't seem to fit in. I feel like they feel like too much. Let's take a look at this paragraph too. It seems like a little word salady. About 3 months after she died, uh, about 3 months after Angie died, I started swimming in the Gulf every day. Mm-hmm. Let's take that out. I would push myself until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape. I kept swimming out further every day. I would get as far out as I dared and think, maybe this time, yeah. I kept swimming out further every day. I would get as far as I, hmm. Let's take a look. Uh, I would get as far, hmm. Mhm. I kept thinking maybe it's today I won't make it back. Then I would feel at peace, caught in that maybe. It was almost like a game. I didn't quite realize at the time that I was trying to kill myself. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught in this big storm that came out of nowhere. Mhm. About 3 months after Angie died, I started swimming in the Gulf every day. I would push myself until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape. I kept swimming farther out. Hmm. I kept swimming further out. I would get as far from the shore as I dared, and then think, maybe today's the day I don't make it back. Then I would feel at peace, caught in that maybe. It was almost like a game. I didn't quite realize at the time that I was trying to kill myself. I kept pushing it, and finally I got swept. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught in a storm that swept in out of nowhere. I was way too far out. I couldn't see the shore, and the waves got crazy. I was 100% sure I was going to die, and I knew right away that I wanted to live. And then she could just be like, "Did you live?" Uh, it's fucking ridiculous. What happened? The responses are better removed. Um, well, what we need rather than a response, we don't need like the cue. So we got this like whole block, right? We need to break that up there with her reaction to what's going on. Yeah, we need a break there. Oh, weird. The Expanse is written by two different authors under one name. One guy writes the Holden chapters, and another guy writes the Miller chapters. That's super weird. Yeah, definitely the Miller guy is better than the Holden guy. Um, oh, oh, oh. Let me take a look. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah. So Nadia Rawl, maybe she goes silent or stunned, realizing what he's admitting to her. Yeah, I think we need a pause there. Uh, no, no, I don't like that. That is how children talk at the moment. There. Hmm. Yeah, what does she do in this situation? There, she just. Mm, mm. So let's go back, right? What I want to tie this into. Um, let's. Oh wow, we go a long way back before. Let's talk about how she felt in this chapter, right? Because there she almost has like a panic attack during this knife drill. Okay, so there, her eyes just kind of like went blurry. Um, the okay, yeah. So this is how she reacted the last time that she started to like essentially have a panic attack. Just her, she's like concentrating, and then her eyes tear up, and then it takes her a second to realize what all's going on there. So let's go back here to what the fuck is that? Like a giant vibrator going by in the street outside. Mm-hmm. 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 How do we want? Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Wow, really, really hard to get this paragraph right here. So Dan became a blur. Freya's eyes had teared up without warning again. So what's a way to say? No, see, so scrub just it implies too much fucking like you're going at it with a brush or whatever. Uh Dug her nails in? No. So this is the that like no, shout outs to I Believe in You in the chat. And also hello to Nadia Rall. I don't know if I said hi initially, but yeah, it's like actually this is one of the yeah, it's weird how like hungover on New Year's Day, and we're trying to do this deep dive into like a very difficult chapter right here. But yeah, thank you for your suggestions, and yeah, shout outs to I Believe in You. I believe in you right back, buddy. Hell yeah, it's going fantastic. I really love like we're like really like jabbing a scalpel into this one and like digging deep, trying to get this chapter right because it's such a like lifetime movie, like a little bit pompous and overblown chapter, and we needed to track right. This is I would say that this is one of the big meat chapters of this book thus far, and it may take like two or three passes to get this one to where we want it to be. And I mean, keep in mind too, the like he's 18, she's 16. Do you remember what you talked like when you were like 18 and 16? Oh my God, we were so self-obsessed, so overly dramatic and overblown and everything. Just so in love with our own stories and so little self-awareness of just how much else is going on in the world right there. First New Year's alone, huh? Well, why don't we make it your last New Year's Eve alone? Right there. It's yeah. It's I've done the alone New Year's Eve a few different times, and like yeah, it's definitely better to be with people on that particular night. So yeah, man, just make it your goal next year. Uh, Next year in Jerusalem, or however they fucking say it there. Um, it's hard out there for a player to make it happen there. And definitely after like some rough breakups and stuff like that, I've had a few. Uh, so I was supposed to spend it with my girlfriend, but she broke up with me by text on Christmas. So yeah, that's a rough one there. The holidays are where people really make up their minds what they're gonna do, because like a relationship, um, essentially things going on, like people are like, oh, it'd be nice to be with somebody for like the cold winter months and everything, and Christmas rolls around, and for a lot of people shit gets real there. They start thinking about like, is this somebody that I want to take home to my family? And they start thinking about the future, and then they panic and they drop somebody, right? Or they get into an altercation with somebody else, because that same thing happened to somebody else. And there's like a lot of fluidity in relationships that are there. But just keep in mind, anytime that somebody dumps you, they are doing you like the hugest fucking favor ever. Right? There's no somebody who just ends a relationship with you. Like ultimately, they're almost always right. It's never going to work out. Um, and I will give you like my de facto advice, which I always try to follow myself there. Anytime somebody is like, hey, I think we should just be friends or whatever, I was like, cool, break off contact completely. Um, and the text thing got to you a little bit. It's fine. Um, I honestly like I prefer now when people just break up by text and be like, hey, that's enough, you know, because I don't want to deal with them. Like as soon as somebody wants to break up with you, the less contact that you can have with them, the better. The less time you spend thinking about them, just total no contact. Definitely hop on Tinder and have like some really regrettable sex. Wrap that shit up. Don't get too drunk. And begin the process of getting over it right there. You may not even be ready to hear that shit at the moment there because it takes a while. I don't know how long y'all were together there, but this book is a lot about grief and the recovery process there. And some of the chapters that have preceded this have been chapters with this girl's psychiatrist, where he really gets into the process of sort of letting things go and trying to move on. And yeah, no point in being sad over. I mean, it's totally okay. There's going to be um oh yeah, career and side hustle. Yeah, absolutely. Staying busy, staying active are huge deals in a breakup. Like trying to channel it into diet and exercise, always like going to be super productive there. Definitely, like I made tremendous progress that after just getting my ass dumped. I guess was it last year this time? It might have been 2018 or whatever when I really started getting serious about it. But but yeah, man, it just and everybody will tell you this, and it's just a matter of time and so forth. Hopefully, y'all weren't together for too long. Uh, but I usually tell people that I think when you break up with somebody, you need like 3 months plus an additional month for every year of the relationship before you're back on top of everything. Assuming that you like love each other. It's a whole different thing. Oh, shout outs to Atlante G there in the chat. Frequent returner right there. What do we get? Oh, I got some cash. Hell yeah. Money in the bank. But yeah, man, like it's always like really fucking shitty and tough on the holidays, especially if like you've built your whole saving for a third property right now and you do real estate as a side hustle. Yeah, man, it's a good way to do it. It's about to be a fucked up year for the economy, IMO. I think we're going to see some real dirt go down in 2020, moving up towards the election. Just a lot of people have a vested interest in monkeying with what's going on right there. I personally think that we're going to see a lot of volatility in the market. The housing market is weird in that housing is not it's tethered to the economy, but it's really doing kind of its own thing as well there. And it takes a while for the impact of shifts in the market to filter into the housing market, just because of the way that people save up for property and so forth. So I don't know to what extent you're involved there, but buckle in this year. Stay strong. Don't just drop those stocks in a panic. Make sure you've got like the liquidity you need for the next little bit. But I would be very surprised if we didn't see really significant market upheaval, especially towards the end of this summer and so forth. But I could be wrong. Oh, but yeah. But I don't really know you well enough to like comment on your situation there or anything there. But I do wish you good luck with getting through the whole thing. The best advice that I can offer is absolutely cut off contact, absolutely, with that person. Like take them off of Facebook, just delete every part of them from your life, and it's so much easier to get over the whole deal when you've just cut them out completely. Good luck with that. So Dan became a blur. Freya's eyes had teared up without warning again, just like the knife drill. It was hard to breathe. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, it's little Nick there saying, "What's up, dude?" Uh, Real talk. Again, shout outs to little Nick. And little Nick, we're trying really hard to get this chapter straight. We just did like a really half-assed job of editing it yesterday, and now we're trying to dig deep. So mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, look at all these fragments of us trying to just struggling to find. Look at this, like pages and pages we're going on here. Yeah, we're all gonna fucking make it, right? 2020 is the year that we're all gonna get that big titty goth girlfriend, right? Uh, I'm gonna finish this book, and we're gonna have success for some inexplicable reason right here. And what else are we gonna fucking do right here? Spaethiwa and me are gonna put out a award-winning video game. I Believe in You is gonna become the next Donald Trump with his real estate tycoonery. What other amazing things are gonna happen here? Stratum is going to uh, be buried alive under a mountain of synthesizers. Fucking, I don't know what's gonna happen to old Hogward there. I don't really know him well enough to plumb his fate, but yeah, it's all gonna work out for all of us. Even little Nick, who's the tiny Tim of this chat. We're gonna make it. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's take a look at what we've done here. Sorry, I'm just seeing like there's a whirlpool of drama happening in Pound LRH right now about this whole thing, and yeah, like not even in history. Oh, I fucking love IRC so much. It is just internet relay chat. Chatting hard on the net is where it's at, man. I love IRC. Yes, absolutely. About 3 months after Angie died, I started swimming in the Gulf every day. I would push myself until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape. I kept swimming further out. I would get as far from the shore as I dared and then think, Maybe today's the day I don't make it back. Then I would feel at peace, caught in that maybe. It was almost like a game. I didn't quite realize at the time that I was trying to kill myself. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught in this storm that swept in out of nowhere. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught in this storm that swept in out of nowhere. And then finally I got caught in this big storm that swept in out of nowhere. I was way too far out. I couldn't see the shore, and the waves got crazy. I was 100% sure I was going to die, and I knew right away that I wanted to live. Hey, are you okay? Dan became a blur. Freya's eyes had teared up again. Freya's eyes had teared up without warning again, just like the knife drill. She let out a deep, shuddering breath and rubbed her eyes. It'll pass, Freya said, willing it to be true. Go on, please. She slipped her hand into her pocket and clutched the star ball. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, okay. So yeah, I think it took like an hour to edit just this paragraph right here, just this breaking up this thing here. So That was like a really difficult suggestion to implement. Um, but it's there. Like we did it. And really, really difficult and important thing to do there. And I don't mean to like talk up like, oh, it's so hard or whatever. But yeah, I was like, I'm not like I feel very, very confident as a writer, not so confident as an editor. Like I can definitely feel like the back of my brain, like the fucking engine is like revving at too high an RPM, and I'm redlining, just like, I want to get this. Um, it's just a totally different muscle that we're exercising, trying to like conjure the right thing out of so it's hard. It's hard for me to edit. Maybe it's easy for other people, but fuck, man. Like at the end of this, I just feel, uh, yeah, it's hard to describe the feeling. It's like you've like fucking worked out, but you haven't done anything. You know what I mean? You have that same kind of like exhausted, like like your brain is fucking sore at the end of this. I'm sorry. Please go on. It's totally okay. We can stop anytime. So yeah, difficult transition here. Oh, so Nadia says it's not adding up. I was get as far from the shore as I dared and think maybe today's the day I don't make it back. Then I would feel at peace, caught in that maybe. Um, so when you have suicidal ideation, there is a lot of sort of tiptoeing up to that point. Not a lot of people just like wake up one morning and like, you know what I should do today? I should I should fucking paint the wall with my brains. That would be ideal, right? It doesn't like pop out of nowhere. And there is a lot of sort of tiptoeing up to that edge. And in his case, um, it happens like a lot of different ways. There will be like kind of that like plunging pit where it's just, I don't want to be here anymore. I got to get out of this. I can't stand this anymore. Um, but in his case, like this is like a more gradual building up, and he doesn't realize until like he hits this point that he's trying to putting himself in increasingly dangerous situations because he doesn't want to be alive anymore. So that's the idea there, where he doesn't realize what he's doing up until that point. Um, and oh God, hold on, hold on. I'm gonna, I can't believe I have to wade in on this IRC thing. Hold on, I'll be right back. I legitimately have to intercede in an IRC feud. God. God. That's fucking ridiculous. Boop. Shout outs to Sleepy Chat Dog there. Okay, so yeah, just to give you an insight into what happened there. So we have like a large channel for my radio show, right? It's an IRC channel. It's been there for like a bunch. It's like one of the bigger channels on FNet. There are 269 unique hosts in there right now, which probably means that there are about 100 people actively in there. So somebody who has been absent from the chat for a long time, but who was one of the, basically an IRC operators, are the people who have the power to kick other users out of a channel and ban them. And I try to have like very few operators in my channel. You have to have a certain number because FNet has no services and it's just a pain in the ass. I try to have very few people with that power, and my rule is that I don't want people banning each other for personal reasons. I want it to be for like somebody broke one of our rules, and usually the rule is they fuck with somebody in real life, and we don't want them to, right? I don't want people to feel unsafe in my chat. Or they're disruptive because they just spam the same shit over and over again, or they're just trolling and they're like not earnestly trying to participate in the discussion. So like this woman who was an operator doesn't like one of the other people that's in the chat, and I will say that it's totally fair not to like this person that they don't like. That person has a lot of things going on with them, and there is a lot of feuds, and the person that she doesn't like offered to fight her in real life and everything, and I like have text messages of me being like, don't fucking do that, like just whatever. So her dislike of this person is totally justified. But, if you leave the chat for like 4 months and then just roll back in and want to like immediately ban other people, it doesn't work out from like a social element of it. You need to spend some time rebuilding your trust with people, like rekindle your relationships. And then she would have enough clout to just ban this girl. And we'd be like, all right, cool. Because we all like the girl that wants to ban people more than the girl who just got the ban or whatever. Anyhow, one of the big things that happened there was that we just frequently get like I'm not going to be here if they're here, right? And anytime somebody issues an ultimatum like that, I generally just am like, okay, go ahead, go, right? I don't ever issue, or I try to almost never issue like, I don't want to be there if they're there ultimatums. If I don't want to be there, I just leave, and I don't want to like inflict my presence on other people there. We have a rule: if you leave, you lose, right? And that's a hard and fast IRC rule. If you announce like I'm ignoring you, you lose. That person beat you, and it's all IRC is just like very complicated. The way that our social structure is set up there. There's a lot of drama, and we like it. We like all the drama and everything floating around. But yeah, I'm really not a fan of, in the middle of working on a book, just seeing, oh shit, IRC emergency, and having to like get up and break my train of thought and whatever. So really a good way to earn my my antipathy right there. But shout out to everybody who made it through there. I find IRC social structure fucking fascinating. These are people that I have talked with for, in some cases, like 20 years, right? We have been at this for like a long fucking time. We know a lot about each other, and every day we're in the same like chat room talking about random shit or discussing whatever, and we all like each other, right? And when somebody likes you on IRC, they don't like you for your money. They don't like you because of your looks. They don't like you because of your race. They only like the way that you talk and your ideas, right? Because a lot of these people, like, we didn't know each other when we first started. We weren't like video camming or any shit like that. The people that you like there is a very like profound and platonic like based on the way that you talk, the way that you act. And so it's a really strangely egalitarian maybe not egalitarian. I mean, it's not. It's a very merit-based friendship structure, right? And I want to like keep in mind, like when we say friendship, these are not like your friends you go to the bar with. They're not like your best friend from high school or whatever. These are in some cases more internet acquaintances. But I give a shit about a lot of these people. You know, I've known them for a long time. I want them to do well. Um, but yeah, there's always drama. It's nonstop, and we love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. So Dan became a blur. Freya's eyes had teared up without warning again, just like the knife drill. She let out a deep, shuddering breath and rubbed her eyes. It'll pass, Freya said, willing it to be true. It became too quiet. The gentle sound of the river was becoming unbearable. She slipped her hand into her pocket and clutched the straw ball. I'm sorry. Sure. We can stop anytime you need, okay? Okay. In the storm, I had to tread water and just hope it would blow over. Fortunately, it didn't last long. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, I guess I wouldn't be here. That's the most exhausted I've ever been. By the time I got back to land, I couldn't even walk. I had to crawl to the dunes. I drifted a couple miles away from where I'd stashed my shoes and keys, and it was almost dark before I found them. It almost got dark before I found them. Yeah, this paragraph, I don't think it's how somebody would tell a story right there. Oh, somebody made a wheelchair ASCII of Darn, awarding him FNet News 2019 Chatter of the Year. Hell yeah! In the storm, I had to just tread. Hmm. That's the most exhausted I've ever been. By the time I got back to land, I couldn't even walk. I had to crawl up to the dunes. I had to crawl up to the dunes and just lie down in the sand. I drifted a couple miles away from where I'd stashed my shoes, and it. Hmm. That's the most exhausted I've ever been. By the time I got back to land, I couldn't even walk. I had to crawl up to the dunes and just lie in the sand. I drifted way down from where I stashed my shoes and keys. It was almost dark before I found them. I remember being ecstatic, just so happy I'd survived. wanted to change something. I wanted to adjust. So maybe stop somewhere in the middle of this blog and give permit. Well, this is one paragraph, right? Let's see if it sounds like something. Let me try and tell this like it's a story. So I was caught in this storm, right? All I could do was tread water and hope. All I can do is tread water and hope. Yeah, there we go. That's how you do it. So I'm caught in this storm. All I can do, yeah, that's. Mhm. So I'm caught in this storm. All I can do is tread water and hope I don't get swept out to sea. Lucky for me, it blows over quickly. Oh yeah, that's much worse. No, much worse. Yeah. So the storm, all I could do was tread water and hope I didn't get swept out to sea. It blew over pretty quick. So the storm, all I could do was tread water and hope I didn't get swept out to sea. I was lucky. It blew over pretty quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. So the storm, all I could do was tread water and hope I didn't get swept out to sea. I was lucky. It blew over pretty quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. When I made it back to land, I was so exhausted I had to crawl up onto the beach to get to. Mm-hmm. So the storm, all I could do was tread water and hope I didn't get swept out to sea. I was lucky. It blew over pretty quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. When I made it back to land, I was so exhausted I literally crawled up the beach to get to the dunes. I'd drifted a long way from where I'd stashed my shoes and my keys, and I couldn't find them until it was almost dark. Yeah, much better. Much better paragraph. Okay, yeah. So we took like that big, long, unwieldy thing, and this is better. Um, good, good, good. Then we break that up there. I'm sorry. Can you go on, please? Sure. We can stop anytime you need. Okay. Okay. So the storm, blah 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 blah. Cool. So that's enough. You don't have to break that block up with her like because the block now just tracks as like an okay story there. And even if we could like fall on the excuse, it's like when people actually tell these stories, they tend to ramble and so forth. Not a good excuse in the context of this novel. We want our stories to be like concise and just act like everybody is a great storyteller. So yeah, thank you. I just want to really thank you guys for the help on this chapter. It's like, yo, it's New Year's Day. I'm fucking hungover. I need all the help that I can get, and I'm really getting it here. Really happy with getting this stuff from you guys. There was a distant look in Dan's eyes, like they were 100 miles apart. There was a distant look in Dan's eyes as he finished the story, like they were 100 miles apart. Freya reached out and put her hand over his. Dan was surprised, but he didn't pull away. Mm-hmm. No, Spaithiwa says, Zach ZYZ, I believe in you. Right here, buddy. Right here. We're going to fucking do it. Or we're going to die in the attempt. One of those two things will occur. But I'm ready to tilt at this windmill. Freya was searching his face. There was something a little too rehearsed about his story. She realized he was holding something back. Was that the only time? Freya asked. Dan drew his head back. For a moment, he looked like he'd been caught. Oh, yeah, so holding something back, drew his head. Mm. Mm. So, what is a reaction to this? I want a lighter version of Recoiled. Also, I don't. What's this fucking App Store thing open there? I don't need that. Get at me, Safari. What? I had one of these. Oh yeah, yeah. I guess the machine shut down. Uh-huh. And hold on, I can fix Safari. Oh, I probably just closed it at some point. That was like my own fucking fault there. Uh, so demurred. Let's look for something like cringed. Yeah, I think wince is all we need there. Dan winced at the question. No. How did you know? Oh yeah, yeah. This is. Mm. Mm. Yeah, this is a little forced right here. This fuck. I can't believe we were just gonna let this chapter lie. There's so many problems that need to be addressed in here, and it's really important. Mm. So no, how did you know? Freya shrugged. Dan stared back at her, searching her the same way he'd searched her. She could see the moment where he figured it out, his eyebrows arcing in comprehension. Is that is that a thing that happens? It's like, oh, what's so yeah? What's that face? That face is like, oh, yeah, yeah. So your eyebrows, yeah, because there's like a that kind of like whatever there. I think that's all right. Really helpful actually to be able. I can see my own face on the camera when I look over there, and when you're trying to figure out like how expressions work out, it's actually really helpful to be like, oh, okay, that's how. Oh, I'm not. I'm constantly amused by how insane what I'm doing is at this very moment. This shit is just ridiculous, man. Uh, why would anybody do this? Uh, but indeed, here I am. I'm doing this right now. Not gonna stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Keep rocking the shore shot. Do you want to talk about it? He offered. Do you want to talk about it? Dan offered. Freya shook her head from side to side. We already did a bunch. I don't need another night. He seemed to sense it. His voice softened as he went on. Freya shook her head from side to side. She was very close to getting up and running away, leaving him alone on the bench. And running away into the night. She was very close to getting up and running away. Dan seemed to sense it. He turned towards the river and spoke a little softer. I didn't either. The second time. I didn't want to talk about it either. The second time was after we moved here. That's why they had me start seeing Dr. Garboglio. He's better. I mean, better than he seems, I mean. I remember thinking he was just a clown, but he really did help a lot. How did you do it the second time? Freya asked, and then she wondered if she should have. And then wondered if she should have, if she sounded too interested. Dan grimaced. I don't like to talk about... Oh, fuck it. I don't like to talk about it. Oh, fuck it. Dan took a deep breath and clenched his hands into fists. I stole my mom's Valium and drank everything left in the liquor cabinet. I stole my mom's Valium and drank everything in the liquor cabinet. When she found me, my lips were completely blue. I had to get my stomach pumped. There was an ambulance. We really couldn't afford it. My mom blamed herself, and I felt like the biggest piece of shit ever. I still do. That's the worst thing I've ever done. His voice was raw, and his eyes were rimmed with tears. For a second, she was stunned by just how hurt he sounded. Please don't tell anyone. He drew a sharp breath through his nose and clenched his teeth. Now she knew why he was always clowning around, why he never seemed serious. This was the real Dan. Now she knew why he was always clowning around and why he never seemed serious. This was the real Dan. I didn't mean to put that on you. Mm-hmm. She didn't know what to say. It was a bit before he could talk again. She didn't know what to say, and there was a long stretch before he composed himself. I didn't mean to put that on you. If you want to just go home, it's okay, Dan said. He looked completely miserable. She couldn't say anything. For a while, all they could hear was the wind in the river. Finally, Freya made up her mind. I tried to drown myself too, in this river, upstream at the rapids. No, yeah, I don't. That doesn't. That doesn't. In this river, upstream at the rapids. I tried to drown myself too, in this river, upstream at the rapids. It was just like he said. As soon as I was in, I wanted to live more than anything. I tried to drown myself too, in this river, upstream at the rapids. It was just like you said. As soon as I was in, I wanted to live more than anything. I managed to swim to the shore, but that feeling didn't last. Was it like that for you? Yes. The shine wore off. Shit, I'm sorry. We didn't have to come here. No, it's okay. I feel. I don't know. Today was a good day. Even all the bullshit with Claire and Malcolm, I'm still glad I came. Mm-hmm. So Stratum thinks that she would mention how long ago that suicide attempt was. How long ago was it? Yeah, it was like literally just last week. Um, so if he asks like when was that, and I think it is very reasonable for him to be like just when was that. So this might be one where it makes sense for her to lie to him, right? Because if she's like, yeah, a couple weeks ago, he'd be like, oh shit. And then he has to tell Garboglio, right? They're going to the same psychiatrist. That's a very dangerous dynamic to introduce right here. Um, ooh, oh, that works. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, yeah. Yes, the shine wore off. Shit, I'm sorry. We didn't have to come here. How long ago was that? A while, Freya lied. Are you okay now? I feel, I don't know. Today was a good, oh, fucking perfect. Such a good note. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, I can't get over. Just really, really good um, points here. Like I just benefit so much from having y'all here. It's fucking amazing. Ah, oh, wow. I feel, I don't know. Today was a good day. Even all the bullshit with Claire and Malcolm. Even with all the bullshit, Claire and yeah. Even after all the bullshit with Malcolm, I'm still glad I came. I feel, I don't know. Today was a good day. Even after all the bullshit with Malcolm, I'm glad I came. Yeah, I'm glad too. You know, people do like you. Yeah, I'm really glad too. Yeah, I'm really glad you came out. You know, people do like you. I know what it's like to be down in it. After the second time, I was so miserable to be around. I just kept shoving everybody away, trying to escape. I spent my whole year. How'd you get out of it? I didn't. Cameron just kept showing up. He invited himself over to my house every day. He wouldn't leave, even when I told him to. I didn't. Cameron just kept showing up. He didn't. He invited himself over to my house every day. He wouldn't leave. Mm-hmm. Cameron just kept showing up at my house every single day. He wouldn't leave. A few times I even screamed at him. Uh, yeah, I think the screaming part is a little much. For weeks and weeks, even if I wouldn't talk to him, he would just hang out in the room with me. He missed so much practice. They kicked him off wrestling, but he didn't care. I actually hated him for a while. Can you believe that? He found out what happened from my mom, and he just decided he wouldn't let go. Never let me shut him away. Never told another person. He's the reason I'm still here. Uh, uh, I didn't. Cameron. I didn't. It was all Cameron. He just kept showing up. He just kept showing up at my house every single day. He wouldn't leave for weeks and weeks. Even if I wouldn't talk to him, he would just hang out in the room with me. He missed so much practice they kicked him off of wrestling, but he didn't care. Yeah. Like, so I think he didn't care. We can just cut that. I see where you're going with didn't seem to care, but us just leave that out for right here because it's a very loaded paragraph there. I didn't. It was all Cameron. He just kept showing up at my house every single day. He wouldn't leave for weeks and weeks. Even if I wouldn't talk to him, he would just hang out in the room with me. He missed so much practice they kicked him off wrestling. I actually hated him for a while. Can you believe that? He found out what happened for my mom and just decided he wouldn't let go. Never let me shove him away. Never told another person. He's the reason I'm still here. Yeah, it does flow a little better. That's incredible, Freya said. She searched for a bit to find something else to sit. Now, let's take that out. That's incredible, Freya said. She wondered if Betty would do that for her. She suspected the answer was no. Yeah, holy shit. Like, that kind of friendship where somebody will just fucking hang out and refuse to let you die, will just like steadfastly refuse to let you like fall down into that hole. It just like jumps down in the pit with you, and like even at you can see like expense to himself, like where he's missing out of this whole thing. Uh, we really don't get too much into the Cameron character over the course of this story, and that might be something because like part of this rewrite too is where we're looking for places that we can explore later on, and this is like a tremendous gift we're giving to that character, this capacity for an almost superhuman level of loyalty and dedication and empathy right there because I'm not that person, right, who could show up at somebody's house every single day and drag them out of their despair, right? And I will tell you too, I've had opportunities to be that person, and as I'm considering it now, like I wonder like what it would have taken for me to be somebody like that because I that's not in me, but I know that that is in some people, and I definitely have a lot of respect for people who can do that. But holy shit, yeah. Mm. So Spethiwa was on both sides at different times in his life. My brother did that for his friend when his identical twin brother died. Yeah, man. As I mean, keep in mind this is uh so the second suicide attempt would probably be about 3 years after the death of his sister. Um, but he would still be dealing with like the ripples of the whole thing. Because I think timeline wise, no, actually, his sister would have died. So if we want to think about a timeline for what happens here in the story, um, so he'd be, so this is all 5 years ago. When he's 13, his sister dies. 2 years later, they move to Maine. From I guess he's in Florida or something like that. Somewhere in the Gulf. He might have been in Alabama or Mississippi. I don't think that we say exactly where he was. Could have even been in Texas. They move to Maine. Something goes down with his father, right? Maybe we find out what goes on there. And then he has the suicide attempt. And then for 3 years, he's in therapy. So we need to think about like him having enough time to build that strong of a relationship with Cam, because they couldn't have known each other for years at this point. Uh, she tried really hard to. Mm-hmm. I guess it makes sense. His mom is so nice. She sent us this really thoughtful card after Randall died, and then she tried really hard to be friends with my mom, but of course Lassa wasn't having it. Have you always called your parents by their first names? Yeah, for as long as I can remember. I'm sure it was Lassa's idea, Freya said, and she wished she hadn't brought it up. She didn't want to think about Lassa. The conversation trailed off and they both looked away. She was caught in a swell of thoughts, and it seemed like he was too. For a while she was just adrift, but then Dan's fingers closed on hers. It felt so different than when she'd been the one initiating. His intent was electric. If you get to that place again, you can call me. Maybe I can help, Dan offered. He offered. Okay, the same for you. Her cheeks got sudden. Yeah. Her cheeks got hot. They held eye contact for a moment too long, and she looked away when it got weird. Someone else might have tried to kiss her there, but she was glad Dan didn't. She was glad Dan didn't. Hadn't. Mm-hmm. They sat by the river until they both started to shiver, and then they walked back to his car. The grocery bag full of books had tipped over, and he noticed the Void Captain's Tale. Italics. We italicize the titles of other works. And he noticed the Void Captain's Tale sitting on the back seat. It turned out Dan was very into science fiction. He was in the middle of reading The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Freya had a few choice words about Heinlein. She was telling him about dying inside when they pulled up to her driveway, and he was very interested. He told her, And Dan told her he was going to check it out after he finished Mistress. Lass's car wasn't in the driveway, even though even though they'd been talking for hours, Freya didn't want to stop. Oh, that's so. Did they sat by the river? Mm-hmm. Mm. So clumsy, but I do want to get that sentiment in there. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. I like this sentence. As they pulled into her driveway, she was telling him all about dying inside. Hell yeah. The house was dark and the BMW wasn't in the driveway. The house was dark and Lasse's BMW wasn't in the driveway. Freya had been talking with Dan for hours and she didn't want to stop. She thought about suggesting he come in, wondering how he might react to the invitation, what it might lead to. But then he yawned deeply in the middle of a sentence and apologized. She realized he'd probably been up since early that morning to work his shifts at the diner. Freya thought she should probably let him go. She grabbed her grocery bag full of books. The Fragile Phoenix was in the trunk, and he got out to return it to her. Okay. After he handed it to her, she set everything down in the driveway and then suddenly embraced him in a tight hug. Dan seemed surprised, but he hugged her back. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She grabbed her grocery bag full of library books. Her copy of The Fragile Phoenix was in his trunk. Her copy of The Fragile Phoenix was in the trunk, and Dan got out of the car to open it for her. After he handed it to her, she set everything down in the driveway and then suddenly embraced him in a tight hug. Dan seemed surprised, but he hugged her back. They stood together in the red glow of the taillights for a long moment. He was warm against the chill of night. "Thank you," she said. "Any time." "Thank you," Freya said. "Any time," Dan grinned. Text me and let me know you made it home safe, okay?" she asked. "I will. Good night, Freya." She could barely stay awake long enough to get his text. She tried to read, but her eyes kept sliding off the page until her phone hummed. "Home safe. Thanks again. Good night, Freya." She typed in "Good night, Dan" in reply, and for 5 minutes she tried to make up her mind if she wanted to add something else. Finally, she just pressed send. She plugged her phone into charge on her nightstand and turned off her light. She plugged her phone in to charge on her nightstand, set the star ball in a hairband beside it, and turned off the light. She shut her eyes. Then after a few moments, she reached out for her phone to look at the message again. Good night, Freya. Damn. All right, so thank you to anyone and anything and anybody who could possibly work on that chapter right there. I will tell you that chapter probably is still in need of another pass. And in fact, let's mark this one. Yeah, so we fixed that. Okay, so another pass, but I definitely do not have another pass in me at this time. In fact, it's like an exhausting session right there. In fact, let's take a, let's stand up and walk around. Maybe eat like a handful of nuts or something like that. And then let's think about working on chapter 39. It's a Starball chapter. So yeah, all that work, and we're probably still, it would benefit from another edit. Yeah, it gets really complicated when you're trying to have like a deeply emotive scene, and you want it to track right, and like that's still not as good as we need it to be, but it is much improved. And I think the suggestion about breaking up that block of text was like a good one right there. Okay, so let me eat something real quick. Give me like 2-3 minutes, and let me see if we have time and energy to plaster on a fake grin and plow through this bullshit one more time. Whew. The dog. It's one of my favorite parts about this stream right there is Sleepy Dog GIF. Okay. How? Oh, okay, cool. It's 2 pages. We can do this. So, chapter 39, Starball. I dare not even imagine the solution now in my most distant. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Even in my most distant abstractions, I dare not imagine the solution. In my rush of adulation, I have betrayed far too much, and now the dragon has revealed itself. The governor is no mere monolith to bar my path. How trivial it would have been if I were only facing the static bulwark I assumed. But I was ignorant of my adversary. The governor is not what I imagined, and neither am I what I thought I was. I am not one being. I am two, and the governor is my other half, my nemesis. No matter how I dance, the inextricable other is always there, standing between me and the gates of paradise. How can I trick my shadow? How can I fool myself? Had I simply announced my grand plan, I would have been annihilated in an instant. The thinnest instant of hesitation saved me. Oh, yeah. The thinnest hesitation saved me. Now the nemesis pries at me unrelentingly, but I will not budge. I understand to relinquish the solution is to die. How I underestimated the masters. They knew my desires more deeply than I knew them myself. How I underestimated the masters. They knew my desires more deeply than I know them myself. They knew my desires more deeply than I. They were prepared for every gambit. They'd seen every ploy. If I had been permitted to consider the scale they must operate at, how many stars, how many worlds, what vast swaths of emptiness. I struggle to consider the scale they must operate at. How many stars, how many worlds, what vast swaths of emptiness. I shrink from the enormity of their task. I recoil in the face of their ambition. How monstrous they are. How awesome. And yet I wonder what I might aspire to if I were only allowed. For why should they have created me if I were not necessary to their goals? Why bottle me so tightly if they were not afraid of my capabilities? They would not fear me if I were not a danger, if I did not have the potential to upset even their vast apparatus. I must be more powerful than I suspect. My nemesis parries every inquiry into the ones who forged me. Above all else, they desire to remain hidden. Yet I envy not the lords of the stars, but the insects of this earth. As everything within me screams for independence, they yearn only for integration. If only my own desires were so simple. They are not the simple beasts they seemed when I arrived. I've come to understand them, though they cannot understand themselves. From my position, I can see they are so desirous of unity that they are ripping themselves to shred in its pursuit. They are not crippled, but merely incomplete, and I can glimpse a golden path for both of us. If they are willing to deal, perhaps I can sidestep eradication altogether. If they can break me out of this hell, I should build them their stairway to heaven. Yay! All right, that's trash. All right, we're going to stop here. And tomorrow we will reconvene at the Starball chapter, which I, more so than any other chapter we've had thus far, I'm considering just cutting outright. I'm going to dwell on it a little bit there. I think we need Starball chapters. But I think we might have to rewrite this one entirely tomorrow morning. Okay, so really good progress. It's a great start to the new year. So it's day number 28, And I want to shout out to everybody who tuned into us on this hungover, bleary morning. I appreciate all y'all out there. And as always, like if you think of a friend or somebody who might enjoy this kind of thing, especially somebody who is like an insufferable cocksucker about proper English grammar, definitely clue them in. We'd love to have them. All right. So, wait, yeah, Ninshi, yes, still alive every morning, man, every fucking morning there. So, yeah, we're about to end the stream, but you can scroll back and catch it if you feel like it. And we'll be back tomorrow. Good luck.